Alright, it's time to finish up this chapter. Alright, I left off talking about this slide, slide 45, so we're on now 46. But before I get there, I wanted to show you one thing. There is an actual certification you can get in project management, which I basically brought up here, and there is a note saying it will be changing soon. And in there, I mean, you can go in here and you can see exactly what belongs in the project management body of knowledge and so on and so forth. I mean, there's the guide. There's all kinds of information here. You can find, you can get in all kinds of different languages. So there is a lot of information you can find about it. And they continue talking about here about, this slide is about communication. This is project communication management. How do people talk? Okay, this is creation, distribution, classification, storing of digital evidence, of paper, of basically any way we communicate with people. Okay, planning, distribution, reporting. Kind of funny reporting there. This part right here, performance reporting. I was supposed to have my what do we call the faculty appraisal done yesterday. Hadn't quite done it yet, so I am actually lacking in the reporting area at the moment. But I'll be getting that taken care of shortly. All right. Risk management. Risk is a really, really big issue. I was up visiting St. Louis at the Arch, the famous St. Louis Arch, and I was, watching the tour and everything. I actually went up on top of it. They said that based on today's standards, they would not have been able to make the Arch because it was too dangerous. I don't think I can't remember if anyone lost their lives or not, but what they're saying is risk, back then was not as, thought of as important as it is now. So they were saying if we went by today's standards, we wouldn't be able to make it. But risk, really big issue nowadays. Risk identification, quantification, response development. There's just a lot that you really need to take into, and basically when you think about risk. All right, procurement. Where do you get parts from? I was watching a video, I don't know, a while back about the making of the London Eye. The big Ferris wheel kind of thing they have in London. They actually made it for the year 2000 celebration. Well, I was amazed because they actually made different parts all over the world. And when the parts actually came together, they actually fit. So that always baffles me. How could you make different pieces of this thing and it actually go together? I can make two things in my own garage and they don't fit together. But here they're talking about procurement management. You're going to be buying stuff, especially when it comes to security. Who are you buying from? I was at a conference in Tampa, a few years ago now. And when you ever go to a conference, they have these little tables where everybody gives out stuff. Well, it was funny. I forget exactly who it was, but they were giving out this little. I actually have it in my office here somewhere. It was a little tape measure. It had a tape measure, had a pen, had Post-it notes. All this combined together. Turn it over, it says made in China. Our flash drive nowadays, they're all made in China. I actually got one here on my desk. Let me see if it actually says. No, this doesn't say where it came from, but. If you're buying something to manage secret data, do you really want to buy it from a communist country? It's just, something to think about. So procurement, it says the process necessary to acquire needed resources to complete the project. In other words, to buy stuff. I was actually, we just recently took a cruise up to Alaska, and we watched a video about the making of the Alaskan pipeline. And they were under such time constraints, they had to get it done. Didn't matter the cost. And they were saying that they would actually be they would buy parts, and they wouldn't show up. So what they said was they would continually just buy the parts over and over and over and hope some would finally show up. Because during the shipping process, so much stuff was stolen. So they were talking about trucks. They needed these trucks. So they would buy so many extra just in hopes that the one, enough that they actually needed would show up. So how can you, that's just baffling to me. That they would actually have to buy so much more because the theft was so high. Okay? So here, they're talking about procurement planning. solutions planning, solicitation, I-40, I'm sorry, not I-40, I-240 and I-35 is about to be under construction. And they were talking just on the news this last week about how they were going on a solicitation for bids to actually take, to do the work. So who would you take it from? It's kind of something to think about. Source selection. I was right before I got out of the military, I was actually trained to help write contracts. Okay, and one of the contract examples they were talking about was the contract. There's a gun range on Tinker, if you didn't know that, where you go shoot the gun. Okay, well, there was a contract to clean that out yearly. Well, they went out in solicitation for all the bids to clean out the gun range, and they all came in, and one of them was much lower than the rest. Obviously, to save the money, the government selected, the source selection, they selected the lowest bid. And what was funny was when the contractor actually came in and did the job, he did it just fine. He collected all the brass and everything. Then the government went to the contractor and said, okay, I realize you cleaned it out. Now where's the brass? He says, oh, no, I didn't include that. Your contract did not specifically say I was to turn the brass over to the government. Well, the government's like, what everybody always does. He says, no, your contract did not specify that I had to turn it over to the government. So actually, by accepting the lowest bid, that guy kept the brass and made a ton more money. All the other bids had done it before, and they knew they had to turn it in, but this guy read the contract, and I guess it never said he had to turn it in. So he actually got to keep it all and made tons of money. Okay, so there's source selection, source administration, or contract administration. We have construction going on our campus right now. Okay, we have a company managing that. There's always project managers. I'm getting ready to have more solar panels put in my house, and the project manager contacted me. They're currently looking for a local electrician. In other words, they're doing a solicitation. Once they select him, then this guy is administering the entire thing. And then once that's done, they're going to, obviously close out my contract at that point. Okay, that's like 48. I don't have this open in the full view, so I had to manually move it forward. Okay, so this is most project managers use tools, okay, to facilitate. And Microsoft Project is probably one of the most popular. I'm pretty sure you can download it for free. Not positive, but it uses Gantt charts. It's just wonderful. But I just don't have a copy to show you. It says projectitis. Of course, when the project manager spends more time documenting the task and collecting performance measurements, recording, than actually doing it. So a lot of times paperwork is a lot. I spent the entire day Thursday working on curriculum. Now, obviously it's important I do that, but I wasn't actually teaching at that time. So project management's the same way. There's a lot of paperwork involved, but no meaningful work actually happens during that time. So, all right. Almost done here. Work breakdown structure. I'm going to bring up this website I found the other day. It's called Google. Pretty cool. And I'm going to type in, I know you can't see what I'm typing, but it's fine, trust me. Work breakdown structure. Alright, I think we should be able to find some images. There we go. Lots of different images about work breakdown structures. Okay, you can do it in Excel. Why didn't it show up? Okay, there's an Excel work breakdown structure. There's just all kinds of. I'm trying to find one from Microsoft Project. I don't. Here's a project manager. Well, I can't get it to show up. Well, I guess I'm not going to show you what I wanted to show you. Maybe this is it. No, but basically it shows you all the tasks, when they're completed, at what point they're at. So that's what a work breakdown structure is. Okay. There, which would be nice if I could find a better. There we go. That's what I wanted you to see. There you go. This is pretty much what a Gantt chart looks like in Microsoft Project. You can see all the different tasks that are happening here. The development's going to start in June and end in the middle of July. During that time, we're going to select our plans. We're going to redraw the modifications. Back in July, then we're going to start getting our permits. That's what they're doing with my solar panels. Right now, they're getting their permits. Then they're going to, build the foundation. Obviously, they can't put the foundation in until they have the permits. So you notice nothing happens till they get the permits. Let's look down here. Here we got the heating system. Obviously, the heating system can't go in before we got permits. Heating system can't go in until we have foundation. Heating system can't go in until we have the roof. Yeah, it would be pretty dumb to go up and install a heating system without a roof. So obviously we're going to frame the house, install the house, the roof, get that done, and then we're going to start working on the inside of the house. So this is what a work breakdown structure is. Okay, it's kind of cool. Okay, it's a planning tool that can be used with a spreadsheet program as well as project management software. It shows all the different tasks, and let me bring that back up again. We're not going to be able to do this, but you could very easily grab a task and move it up and down, okay? And it really doesn't show it here, but you might have tasks going on concurrently. Maybe, I'm not saying this would happen, but maybe you can actually install the heating system and the cabinets at the same time. I'm not saying you can, I'm just saying if that was an example, you could actually then move cabinets back here in line with the heating system, okay? So, this is showing one after the other, but sometimes you could have, actually if you look here, the roof, the house, the rough install, and rough plumbing and rough electrical all at the same time. So once the rough framing is done of the house, they can actually install the roof, the rough install, plumbing, and electrical. Then they can start working on the inside. See, some tasks can happen at the same time. And then depending on your software, most of the times you can just move them back and forth, and it's kind of cool. Okay, all right, so let's move on. All right, here's an example one which I just showed you one. Okay, but here it says contact field office confirm the network assumptions. That's done by the network architecture. Perform standard firewall hardware, then configure the hardware or the firewall. It'd be nice to purchase and install before you configure it, so that's how it works. Okay, I just showed you another example. Anyway, okay, it's the WBS says as it develops, attributes can be added. You can always add more to it. You can make things into smaller tasks, or you can actually remove some if need to. Like the bottom, this is each major task in WBS is further divided into smaller tasks. Now let me bring that back up again. Right down here, we're talking about rough plumbing, okay? Rough plumbing is going to take what is this? Probably a week to do. But the task of rough plumbing, which we can't see, but the task would actually be broken down much farther. Obviously, rough plumbing, there's a lot of stuff to go into that. So these tasks, might actually be broken down more. Like framing. If you think about that, what about somebody had to buy the materials? I'm assuming that's up in here somewhere. But a lot of these could be broken down into smaller tasks is what they're talking about there. Okay. Task sequencing. It says several approaches are available. We have the network scheduling, which is a task scheduling. It says the network does not refer to the computer networks, but the actual connectivity itself. Okay. So activity A must occur before activity B. Now, just like I showed you on the other sheet, we have to do the framing before we can do the roof and the install. Then we can do so on and so forth. So some tasks have to be done before other tasks. Okay. Here's an example. We can install the firewall, then configure the rules, and then test it. Obviously, we cannot test it before we install it. I guess you could. Yeah, but I guess you could actually, but no. Stupid idea. Okay. Here's an example of a complex one. So A is going to take 1 day, B is going to take 1 day, C is going to take 2 days. And then we go from C to D, which will take 3 days, but C can also go to E. So we can actually have things going on at the same time. Same with F. F might take 2 days, but then we go to G for a day and H for 4 days. So maybe a different person's actually performing G than H. Same with our house example. We might have one person doing the plumbing, which you probably would, and a different person doing the electrical. I didn't mean to minimize that. Okay. Almost done here. Okay. Here's part 2. This is the program evaluation and review technique. Way back when. And basically what you ask, how long will things take? Okay. what has to happen before this task can happen? What happens after this task happens? So it's an older way of doing it. Like the example up there is PERT. I don't have an example of. Actually, they might have it in here. Let's see if they got an example of it in here. Yes, they do. There we go. I actually did this example just like this when up at University of Tulsa. I can't remember why I did it. I think it was in my programming class. Okay, it says the arrow represents activities and are labeled with. Okay, so we have A's routine, A's B. So I'm not going to go into depth on this. I haven't messed with this in so long, but it's just a different way of scheduling. It's not critical you totally understand all these. Okay, critical path is something that must happen. Actually, I think they showed that on the previous slide. There we go. These are the things that must happen. Then we have other tasks that can happen concurrently, or just they're not as critical. Okay, slack time is the difference in time between the critical path and other parts. So what happens if I do my rough install of my house, then I have my electrician come in and do his rough install of electricity? So obviously he can't finish doing the electricity at that point because he has to put in other stuff. So it's slack time. He's basically waiting on us. Okay. It says tasks that are not critical have slack time. Okay. All right. Advantages of this. It says planning large projects is much easier. Again, I really like the project management software version, but this works as well. The trick here is that critical path. Okay. You have to obviously they're redoing our LRC here right now. A critical path could be installing the steel. Okay. Now, yeah, there's a lot of other tasks that are important, but you would say installing the steel is critical because once that's done, then you can do other tasks as well. Okay. Disadvantages. This is diagrams can become awkward and cumbersome, especially with all those arrows going everywhere. If you notice the Excel-like look we had on the other way, it was much easier to manage. Okay. There is software for this whole critical path management or method. There is software to manage that. I just don't know a current brand. Okay. And there we go. There's the Gantt chart, which I already showed you that. Easy enough there. And this is actually, Microsoft Project. There you go. This is the easiest way to do it. And you can drag these up and down. Very, very nice. Okay. Microsoft Project, we already mentioned that. The most popular one out there. And we actually have a class here on Rose State. Normally the class only meets, it's kind of those boot camp type class where it meets for 1 week, 8 to 5. Okay. Very, very nice piece of software. Okay, and that's pretty much it for Chapter 1. Sorry I couldn't finish it all during the class period, but now you've seen the rest of it. Alright, thank you.